I never imagined I'd become the woman who falters at her own bedroom door, not fumbling for keys, not forgetting some trivial thing, but gripped by a dread so deep it rooted me in place, my hand trembling on the cold brass knob, my pulse thundering loud enough to rival the silence swallowing the hallway, a silence so heavy it pressed against my skull, amplifying every thought to a scream. That night, I stood paralyzed, my breath shallow, the air thick with something unspoken, something waiting. I had no clue my world was about to fracture, no hint, no chance to brace myself, just a fleeting glimpse of something I was never meant to see, something that would unravel everything I thought I knew. It began with Adam, my stepson, a boy of 19, polite, quiet, carrying a weight in his eyes that mirrored my own, a sadness I recognized but never dared name. This isn't a tidy tale, not a story spun with charm or ease, but one that knots your stomach, that wakes you at 3 a.m., staring into the dark, wondering how you ended up here. I'm no villain, didn't scheme for this, didn't seek it, just a woman, 38, starved for connection, forgotten by a husband who speaks to me like a stranger, his touch a ghost of what it once was. Our home, pristine, polished, a facade of perfection, hides a truth, a family of actors playing parts, smiles fixed, conversations hollow. Adam's arrival, boxes in tow, shifted the air, his presence a quiet storm, stirring something I tried to ignore, something that led me to that door, to that moment, to a choice I never thought I'd face. That night, the house held its breath, its silence sharper than any sound, a weight that clung to me as I climbed the stairs, my heels clicking softly, each step a pulse in the quiet, a heartbeat I couldn't quiet. I hadn't planned to come home early. My meeting canceled. Daniel away again, his absence a familiar ache, the kind that settles into your bones like damp cold. The driveway was dark, the windows dim, save for a faint orange glow leaking from Adam's room upstairs, a beacon in the stillness, pulling my eyes, my thoughts, my curiosity. I told myself it was nothing, just a light left on, a boy doing homework, but something tugged at me, a thread I didn't yet know would unravel everything. I slipped inside, the front door easing open, careful not to disturb the hush, the living room untouched, no dishes, no hum of life, just that oppressive quiet, the kind that watches you, judges you, knows you're out of place. I moved upstairs, my steps slow, deliberate, the floorboards creaking underfoot, a sound that felt like a warning, like the house itself was whispering, "Turn back." But I didn't. Adam's door was ajar, just a sliver, enough for that warm light to spill into the hallway, enough for me to hear something, soft, rhythmic, a sound that wasn't music, wasn't words, but something private, something raw. My heart stuttered, my body screaming to keep walking, to ignore it, but my feet betrayed me, stopping, frozen, my eyes drawn to that crack of light, to what lay beyond. I wasn't spying, wasn't searching, but I saw it before I could stop myself. Adam on his bed, his back arched slightly, hand moving beneath the blanket, his face bathed in the cold glow of his laptop screen. For a moment, I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, my mind scrambling to make sense of it, not because of what he was doing, but because of what he was watching. It was me, in a moment I'd buried, a video of Daniel and me from years ago, a rare night when passion still lived between us, a memory I thought was lost, locked away, forgotten. How had he found it? How had it surfaced? Why was it here, playing in the dark, in his room, in this house that felt more like a mausoleum than a home? I stood there, my chest tight, my hands trembling, part of me raging, wanting to storm in, to snatch the laptop, to scream, to demand answers, but another part, darker, quieter, held me still, rooted me to the floor. I backed away, silent as a ghost, my breath caught, the hallway narrowing around me, the air too thick to swallow. I made it to my room, shut the door, leaned against it, my heart a wild thing, my thoughts a storm. Disgust surged through me, violation, confusion, but beneath it, something I didn't want to name, something that twisted in my gut, a flicker of being seen, being wanted, a feeling I hadn't known in years. I sat on my bed, staring at the dark, my mind replaying that image, his face in the glow, the video, me, young, alive, loved. I tried to tell myself it was an accident, a mistake, that he'd stumbled across it, clicked without knowing, but deep down, I knew better, knew it was deliberate, intentional, a choice. And that knowing terrified me, not just because of what it meant about him, but because of what it stirred in me. I hated myself for it, hated the way my pulse quickened, not with fear, but with something else, something forbidden, something that felt like waking up after years of sleepwalking. Daniel hadn't looked at me, really looked, in so long, his eyes always elsewhere, his touch mechanical, his presence a shadow of what it used to be. But Adam? His glances were different, soft, curious, like he saw through the mask I wore, the smile I practiced, the woman I pretended to be. I'd noticed it before, those moments when his eyes lingered, not crude, not bold, but deliberate, like he was tracing the cracks in me, seeing the woman beneath, the one who cried in the shower, who stood at the sink too long, who'd forgotten what it felt like to be wanted. The house didn't help, its perfection a lie, its clean lines and polished surfaces, a stage for our charade, a place where we played our roles, husband, wife, stepson, all of us strangers under one roof. Dinners were silent, Daniel scrolling, Adam staring at his plate, me filling the void with small talk, my voice echoing in the emptiness. I'd always kept my distance from Adam, respectful, careful, a stepmother in name only, cooking, cleaning, asking about his classes, staying in my lane. But his presence had shifted something, his quiet not like Daniel's, not cold, not dismissive, but inviting, like a door left ajar, tempting me to step through. And now, after what I'd seen, that door felt wider, dangerous, impossible to ignore. I tried to push it away, to scrub the image from my mind, but it clung to me. His eyes, the video, the way it made me feel, not just violated, but alive, seen in a way I hadn't been in years. The next morning, I moved through the house like a shadow, pouring coffee, making toast, smiling at Adam across the table, my voice steady, my hands shaking beneath the counter. He was calm, polite, as always, but I couldn't meet his eyes, couldn't bear the thought that he knew I'd seen, or worse, that he'd wanted me to. I cleaned obsessively that day, rearranging shelves, wiping surfaces, trying to erase the moment, to drown it in routine. But it followed me, a ghost in every room. Why that video? Why me? Why now? I told myself it was curiosity, a mistake, a fluke. But the truth was heavier, darker, a truth I didn't want to face. And beneath the shame, the fear, the guilt, there was something else, a thrill, a pulse, a hunger I hadn't felt in so long it scared me. I noticed things I'd ignored, the way his gaze lingered when I reached for something, the way his steps slowed when he passed me, the way his voice softened when he spoke my name. And I hated how it made me feel. Hated the part of me that didn't want it to stop. Hated the woman I was becoming. Or maybe the one I'd always been, buried under years of silence, waiting for a spark to set her free. The air in the house thickened, heavy with secrets I couldn't unsee, couldn't unfeel. Each day a tightrope walk between guilt and a craving I barely admitted to myself. Adam's presence, once a quiet shadow, now pulsed with something alive, something dangerous. His glances no longer fleeting but deliberate, tracing me across rooms, catching me in moments I didn't know he saw. I told myself to stop noticing, to shut it down, to be the stepmother, the wife, the woman I was supposed to be. But the truth was messier, hungrier, a pull I couldn't shake. It started small, innocent if you squinted, a brush of fingers when he handed me a dish, a lingering look across the kitchen, his voice softer when he said my name, like it carried weight, like it meant something. I felt it, that spark, that question neither of us dared ask aloud, and I hated how it woke me, how it made my skin hum, how it reminded me I was still here, still alive, still wanting. I changed, subtly at first, convincing myself it was nothing, wearing tank tops instead of loose shirts, letting my robe slip open just a fraction in the morning light, choosing dresses that clung to my curves when I knew he'd be home. I wasn't doing it for him, I lied to myself, but I felt his eyes, felt the heat of them, and I didn't look away. Our moments grew, small but charged, his hand grazing mine when he took the groceries, his arm brushing my shoulder in the hallway, each touch a spark, a step closer to a line I knew I shouldn't cross. Then came the notes, slipped into places only I'd find, tucked in a book, hidden under the sugar bowl, words scrawled in his messy hand. You're more than they see. You deserve to be felt. If I could rewrite time, I'd start with you. Each one tightened my chest, not with shame, but with ache, a longing for something I couldn't have, something I shouldn't want, but did, so fiercely it scared me. I found his sketchbook one afternoon, knocked it over by accident, the pages falling open to a drawing of me, sitting on my bed, brushing my hair, my face soft, unguarded, captured in pencil with a tenderness that stole my breath. It was me, not the tired wife, not the invisible woman, but someone desired, someone real. I stared, my hands trembling, knowing he'd watched me, knowing he'd seen me in a way no one had in years, and I didn't close the book, didn't tear the page, didn't stop the warmth spreading through me. I should have, but I didn't, and that choice, that surrender, pushed me closer to the edge, to a place where right and wrong blurred into something else, something that felt like salvation. The night it happened, the sky roared, thunder rolling low, rain slashing the windows like it wanted to break through, the house dark, charged, alive with the storm's fury. Daniel was gone. Another conference, another absence, leaving me alone with the quiet, with Adam, with the tension that had been building for weeks. The power cut out, sudden, total, plunging us into darkness, the hum of the house silenced, only the rain's rhythm and my own heartbeat filling the void. I lit candles, their flickering light dancing across the living room, casting shadows that felt like they were watching, waiting. Adam came downstairs, shirtless, sweatpants low, hair damp from a shower, pausing when he saw me, candle in hand, my face half lit, half hidden. He smiled, barely, a question in his eyes. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft, careful, like he was testing the air. I nodded, trying to keep the darkness at bay, trying to keep myself from falling apart. We sat on the floor, the coffee table between us, the candlelight a fragile barrier, talking at first about nothing. The storm, his childhood, how he'd hide from thunder under blankets, imagining giants bowling in the sky. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because his voice felt like a lifeline, something human in the chaos of my thoughts. Then silence fell, not awkward, but full, heavy, pulling us closer. He looked at me, really looked, his eyes holding mine, and I couldn't bear it, couldn't hold the weight of it. "Why that video?" I whispered, my voice barely there, the question I'd carried since that night. He swallowed, his gaze steady, because it was the only time I saw you being loved. Those words broke me, cracked open a place I'd kept locked, a place where I'd buried my hunger, my loneliness, my need. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stared as the candlelight flickered, the room shrinking, the world fading until it was just us, just this moment. He reached out, slow, tentative, his fingers brushing mine, and I didn't pull away. Couldn't. The touch electric, a spark that burned away the storm, the guilt, the years of silence. My eyes burned. A tear slipped down my cheek, and he wiped it away, his thumb soft, steady, his face close, too close. Then he kissed me, gentle, careful, like he was waiting for me to stop him. But I didn't. I kissed him back, and that was it. The line crossed, the dam broken. I don't remember standing, don't remember moving to the couch. Only the heat, the press of his skin, the way his hands held me like I was both fragile and essential, the way I let go of everything, my fear, my shame, my strength, surrendering to him, to myself, to the woman I'd forgotten, the one who still craved, still burned. After we lay tangled, the candle burning low, the rain a distant roar, my body humming, my heart split open. I stared at the ceiling, knowing everything had changed, knowing there was no undoing it, no excuse to make it right. The line wasn't blurred, it was shattered, and I wasn't sure who I was anymore, only that I'd felt alive, seen, wanted, for the first time in years, and that truth, that feeling, was as terrifying as it was undeniable. The morning after, dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving, the house still heavy with the storm's echo, the air thick with what we'd done. I woke before the sun, my body aching, not just from the night, but from a deeper wound, a fracture in who I thought I was. I wrapped myself in my robe, tight, like armor, and slipped downstairs, trying to outrun the truth. The dented couch cushions, the blanket tossed on the floor, the burned-out candle on the table, all screaming what I couldn't unsee, what I couldn't undo. I made coffee, hands shaking, the mug untouched, just something to hold, to anchor me as my heart pounded, as my thoughts spiraled. When Adam's footsteps creaked on the stairs, I froze, my back to the door, my breath caught, his presence filling the kitchen like a storm cloud. He stood there, eyes soft, lips parted. "Hey," he said, gentle, hopeful. "Can we?" But I cut him off, my voice sharp, wrong. "I have a lot to do today." I didn't look at him, couldn't bear the hurt I knew I'd see, the hope I'd crushed. "Okay," he murmured, quiet, wounded, and walked away, his steps fading, leaving me alone, sinking onto a stool, my chest tight, my stomach twisting. What had I done? I avoided him all day, dodging his presence like a ghost, staying downstairs when he was up, waiting for silence before entering the kitchen, telling myself I was protecting him. But really, I was hiding. From him, from myself, from the woman I'd become. When Daniel returned, his suitcase thudded, his voice too bright, too normal, cutting through me like glass. He kissed my cheek. I flinched. His smile faltered, but he didn't ask, just moved on, asking about dinner, oblivious to the chaos beneath my skin. At the table, Adam sat last, slow, eyes down, barely touching his food, while I stared at my plate, Daniel's chatter about his trip a dull hum, his jokes falling flat, none of us laughing. After, Adam vanished upstairs. Daniel's gaze narrowed. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Too quick. Just tired." He didn't push, never did. But I felt it, his suspicion. Not enough to accuse, just enough to linger, a shadow in his eyes. That night, in bed, Daniel reached for me. I flinched again, mumbled about a headache. He rolled over, silent, asleep, while I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the storm now inside me, raging, tearing at the seams of who I was. The days that followed were worse, Adam's warmth gone, his eyes heavy with confusion, betrayal, a boy I'd let believe in something impossible, only to slam the door shut. He wasn't angry, wasn't cold, just hurt, and that hurt cut deeper than anything, a knife I'd wielded myself. Every room whispered our sin, the couch, the hallway, the mirror where I caught my reflection, a stranger staring back, a woman I didn't know, lost in her own hunger, her own emptiness. I moved through life like a shadow, the guilt a constant weight, pressing against my ribs, but so was the ache, the memory of feeling seen, alive, even if it was wrong, even if it burned. I couldn't tell anyone, not friends, not Daniel, not my therapist, the secret clawing at me, a beast I carried alone. Tonight I let it breathe, not for forgiveness, not for absolution, but to be heard, to lighten the load that's heavier than the act itself. Was I wrong? Or was I just human, starving for touch, for connection, after years of nothing? I don't know, but I know this. Standing at that door, heartbreaking, I crossed a line I can't uncross. If this stirs something in you, a memory, a hunger, a secret, share it, like this. Subscribe to Shocking Infidelity Saga, because loneliness is a dangerous beast. It feeds on what's closest, even if it's forbidden, even if it destroys you.